How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Forever Arsenal podcast. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all well. First and foremost, hit the like button. Let's get up to 1,000 likes. As usual, now on this show, it's become a regular theme. So let's keep it going and leave your comments because we will be getting into the comments of the day at the back end of the show. And again, these ones are becoming somewhat regular come the end of the season. Now, we was enjoying a nice smooth ride throughout the season, smiling week in, week out, before and after every game. And the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, it seems like a pattern is emerging, and that's results that are not going our way. And I think this is probably the last nail in the Premier League title coffin. A 3-0 loss to Brighton at the Emirates, coupled up with City winning their game, means City have to just win one game of their last 3, starting with Chelsea at the Etihad to win the Premier League title for the 5th time in 6 seasons. But this is the Forever Arsenal podcast. It's not the Forever City podcast, so we're going to touch in on Arsenal and get into the game. I know usually we're here, the first 5-10 minutes tends to be banter and the prediction table and all of this stuff. But considering the climate, I'd say, around Arsenal, I think it's best to get straight in with the topic and, start talking. Lee, James, Jordan, as always, it's a pleasure to have you guys on. And Lee, as always, I'm going to start with you. You was at the game. Crazy. I mean, I don't know how else to. Still, a couple days after, I don't know how to explain what happened there.
No, it's a tough one to take. I think over the last couple of days, I've been reflecting a little bit about it, and what I think that's really happened is that we've just gone back into the pack. You know, a couple of injuries have meant that we're back in with the likes of the inconsistent top 4 teams, really, and a couple of injuries have done that. Like I always said, when I see Saliba like the first time, I said it'd take us somewhere different, and it's been proven. And it's a bit of a reality check that where we are and what we need to do. A lot of people have been saying about getting on to Mikel, saying like, oh, he's done the same thing last season as this season. I actually think it was worse last season than it is this season. My reasons being is that teams like when we were chasing Tottenham and etc., Chelsea as well, they'd win 3 or 4 games and then lose 1, 2. This time around, 11 straight wins on the spin. Manchester City have produced. It's hard to compete with that. Last season, we needed to win 1 of our last 4 games, or what is it, 2 of our last 4, and we ended up losing 2 of them and winning 2 of them. So I felt that was more of a disappointment. I look at it also and think to myself that about Mikel, and I think he's done fantastically well. Don't get me wrong about that, but it's okay when you've got the players. When you've got one of the best teams in the league, you can do that. But I think he's been found wanting in the last few games. I have to say that, since he hasn't come up with plans to beat teams, and when he's come up against teams that are better than us, we've fallen short. Apart from the game against Newcastle. And that's where we are now. I think that we're in a position where let's not get carried away and be too downhearted about it. I think we've done fantastically well. But good teams that are going to go and win things, go away to Newcastle, get the result, the high of getting that result, and then you come back the following week and you win again. I thought we was lacklustre. I don't know if it had anything to do with the Everton game, because I actually pinned all my hopes on that Everton game. In between Real Madrid. If they were to drop points, that was the one. They breezed it, guys. They absolutely breezed past Everton. So maybe there was a little bit of despondency in the crowd. It certainly was with me. I actually weren't that upset about the result, because I knew that we couldn't win it after that game. I knew that it had gone. Once they'd beaten Everton, I knew that it doesn't matter what we do, we couldn't do it. And I think you have to just say that you're up against something that we've never experienced, or not in my lifetime. I don't know, I'm not experienced. I remember in '98 we'd done the same sort of thing. We went 10 wins on the bounce against Man United, and Man United, who had won titles, experience, and all that, couldn't handle it. And we've got an inexperienced side that probably just at the end of the day fell short. That's nothing to be ashamed of, by the way. You know, when all these teams give you stick, and we've been getting it the last few days, haven't we? Like, you know, from the Man Uniteds, Tottenhams. The reason that they're giving us stick, West Ham as well, funny enough, because they're jealous. And do you know why they're jealous? Because we've been there. I remember, like, you know, I know what it was like when Spurs lost to Liverpool in the Champions League. It was relief. It was more relief that they couldn't do it. And you celebrate it because you're just relieved. And that's what every other team is relieved that we haven't won it, because it's jealousy. And we have to accept that, you know. We just fell short. But listen, we had a fantastic season. I don't really know what happened in that game there. I just felt, I've got to say this, Brighton were fantastic. I thought they were fantastic. So we just have to hold your hands up. We're beaten by a better team. And I think what happens now in the summer is going to be massive for this football club and how we go about things.
I think you're being a bit kindly. The reason I think you're being kind is that was the first time I've seen the players throw in the towel. I thought they waved the white flag. And I think that is appalling. Now, let me give the only bit of credit I can. I thought first half we were the better team. Gary Neville was running this narrative, all commentary, that Brighton were amazing and brilliant, and they came and they dominated and we couldn't do anything about it. Disagree. I think second half, once they got that goal, they totally settled. They were brilliant. We couldn't get the ball off them. But I honestly think the Arsenal players by that point, with Everton losing, going a goal behind, I honestly think they waved the white flag. And I think that was so disappointing because the better chances came first half. We had to adapt to the fact we didn't have Zinchenko. And I actually think we did quite well because the midfield was winning the ball, you know, was sort of almost, they were teasing Brighton into a sort of half press. They were trying to play through us. We nicked the ball. We had loads of opportunities in transition to do something, to get better shots off. Trossard should score. Erdegaard had a lot of opportunities where I think he gets the pass wrong. And I think we did some nice stuff in that first half. It wasn't great. We weren't very good. Brighton were pretty good, but I still felt the better chances and moments were falling towards us in the first half. And in the first 5 minutes, second half, I thought we started fairly brightly. But then they get the goal. It's shocking from Kivior, I have to be honest, who I think's done well since he's come in. I will say, I think he's done well. And I'm excited about him in an Arsenal shirt. But I've said it before, if you've been stamped on, you either go down screaming and howling and wave your hands in the air, or do what I'd rather you do, which is stay on your feet till the ball's gone out of play. I think it's poor from Kivior. And at that point, Arteta, who I thought actually set us out with a good plan, and actually it was the players who were failing to execute it. The players just lost their heads. Another moment of adversity, they couldn't come through in the game. His subs I did not get. Bringing Xhaka and Jorginho on, the two experienced stable heads. I don't think we lose that game 3-0 if they're on the pitch. Now, maybe bring off Jorginho for Partey, fine, but I didn't get bringing Xhaka off. And then it just got, went from bad to worse. And look, I get it. The season's kind of done now, and well done on a great season. And we're going to have plenty of time to praise the team, as we have done for most this year for the season they've had. But that performance wasn't acceptable. And Mikel Arteta said as much. He said something as much as, the team showed a face that I didn't think they had anymore, something like that. And we have to address that. I'm paraphrasing. The quote was something like that. I think he's worried about what he saw out there, because you've got to go to the end all the time. And I've said, even with that, everyone kept talking about the Everton result being the one. I hear it. But all I asked was that we took them to the final week. Take them to the final week. Because guess who they've got in their penultimate game? Brighton away, who, by the way, just looked brilliant against us. And then, let's say they draw that. Let's say something goes wrong because Brighton are a good team. Then you go to the final day and you never know. Brentford away. Maybe it gets to them. Maybe it gets a bit nervous. But we haven't even asked them that question. So I'm disappointed. I love the team. And I think credit to them for the first half. I don't think it was as bad as people said that first half. But they had a shocker there.
Turkish, I'm going to be really annoying here because I'm going to try to find different words to say exactly what James has just said for the past 2 or 3 minutes. I think the fan base have been kind to Arsenal on the back of this game. I've avoided the whole bottle job discussion and narrative because it is semantics and whether they bottled it, and I've heard you talking about bottle it, pressure got the better of them, weren't good enough. It's all kind of the same thing, but there's a certain connotation to the phrase bottle job that I think is different to the connotations linked with the phrase the pressure got the better of them. So I've leaned more towards that. But at the end of the day, pick your phrase. This was the first game, they bottled it. Right? It's unequivocal, they bottled it. Because as James says, it's the first game they gave up. They didn't against City. They were just outplayed, and there's levels between us and City. And 4-1, was it 4-1 in the end? 3-1?
Yeah,
4-1.
4-1 in the end shows probably whereabouts we are. There's not a 3-0 gap between Brighton and Arsenal, especially at home. That should not be happening. And I saw a team at 1-0 down give up. They thought, City have won their game early in the day. We're 1-0 down. We can't get a goal. Feeling sorry for ourselves. Wow. Sod it. Just give up. They gave up. And that for me was the worst thing. I wasn't upset, Turkish, because it was a final nail in the coffin. For me, the title was finished at the Etihad. That was the game where, for me, the title was over. I mean, it was always just hoping on a prayer. It was over at the Etihad for me. If a team beats you 3 times in a season, they're better than you. They're just better than you. What upset me more was that we didn't, as James said, my only request was just take it to the last week. Just take it to the last week. Not because we might win the title, but at least it reflects, I think, fairer and better on the season as a whole. We're in danger now, because I'm concerned about Nottingham Forest, and we'll get to that. We're in danger now of the gap being 8, 9, 10 points between us and City. And that, for me, isn't a fair reflection of the good work this club and manager has done for 90% of the season. That was my concern. Just win the last 3 games and take it to the last game. So that was the reason why I was frustrated. Performances, there's no point, I don't think, really kind of picking out individual performances, because I think generally the team were poor. I'm coming round to James's thinking again about Martinelli, and I don't want to say that him going off was the reason we dipped, because I think in the first half, as James says, I don't know if we were the better side, but it was definitely equal. It was at least equal, in my opinion. There was a lot of fans talking after the game, Arsenal fans saying, we lacked intensity, we weren't on it. I don't agree. We pressed really well. Yeah. We won the ball quite a few times. The problem was, we're not clinical. We wasn't clinical. That was the problem. It wasn't a question of intensity or being flat. I didn't agree with that analysis from a lot of the Arsenal fan base. We just weren't clinical. And I found that Brighton did to us in this game what we did to them at their gaff. Remember the 4-2 game at their place? We started off really well. I think we were 2-0 up in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We were on them. And this was just a role reversal for me. I just want to spend, I know you said at the start that this is our Arsenal fan TV or AFTV. This isn't Man City fan TV. But I want to spend 30 seconds talking about Brighton, because I can only think of one team at the Emirates that's come to the Emirates and performed better than Brighton. It was Bayern Munich. It wasn't a 6-1. I think it was the year before or a year after they beat us. I think it was 3-0 in the Champions League. And the performance was just flawless. This was probably the only performance, that was the only game I can think of where a visiting team has come to the Emirates and scored us. They absolutely, in that second half in particular, they scored us. And next year, there'll be a problem, but that's for another discussion for another day. I was so impressed by Brighton, mainly because even despite us winning the ball in that first half an hour 4 or 5 times, they didn't change their tactics. They stuck to their beliefs. They kept playing out from the back. Even I was thinking to myself, wow, you guys are trying to let us score a goal here. But they stuck to what they were doing, and look what happened. They believed in what they were doing. De Zerbi said before the game, you will see the real Brighton. And we saw it. So I just want to give them huge credit, because I think what De Zerbi's doing, and I think that running down the touchline he did for the last 2 goals, I think will be quite iconic in his career. But again, that's for another day. But I was just disappointed the boys just seemed to give in That was the biggest takeaway for me. You gave in when it got really on top. You gave in, and that for me wasn't acceptable.
I think especially when you look at our performance post second half, because I agree with you in the first half especially, and James, we were the better side. I think we pressed them well. We won the ball high up at least 5-6 times where there was an overload in the final third, and we just made nothing of it. And that's why I look at the game and I think a couple of our worries across the season caught up to us. One of them is what you just mentioned, the lack of a cutting edge. I think Martinelli is the cutting edge in our attack. When you look at all four players, Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, and Saka, Martinelli is the one that you kind of bank on in terms of, maybe popping up with a goal or the one that's going to be at the end of a one-on-one or
just spark something.
Yeah, he's the one in the front, three out of the four players we have. And then in the second half, it's the goals conceded at home. It's not the first time we've mentioned it. And I don't solely link that to missing Saliba either.
No,
I think
neither.
We was right to mention holding against, Liverpool, Southampton, West Ham, because losing Saliba has had an effect on the way we play out at the back. But then Kivior comes in, and then we kind of see, a bit of the old with Arsenal in terms of, a bit more confident with the high line, a bit more pace at the back, a bit more youthful exuberance as well. Kivior's young, but conceding goals at home. It wasn't that long ago that we was, looking at our defense as one of the best in the league. And when you look at how many we've conceded now, it's over 40. I think it's 43 off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 42, but it's way too many goals. And I think those two factors just came back to bite us in the arse come the end of the season. And does it feel like we gave up? It feels like we gave up after we conceded the first goal.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think we went into the game maybe with, having had one eye on that Man City result against Everton, feeling a bit deflated. But we done enough in that first half to at least make Steele in goal work, but he didn't work.
And I want to stress that when I say gave up, or Reece Nelson came on and tried his best. I thought it was another bright cameo from him, and I do think the players were trying to win the ball back and sustain some pressure and find a goal. I guess what I mean is I don't think it was like a conscious, we're done, we can't be bothered. I think it was almost like where in every other game, Arsenal, I think, have had the belief to just drive themselves through, like Bournemouth. They just kept believing that there was a way through. I don't think they believed there was against Brighton.
But you make a great point, James. You make a great point, which I didn't realise. The substitutions, I think, affected that. Because basically the manager's covering up his tracks by putting them players on, because what happened was, you're right, because we didn't lay a glove on them with all of those players. So taking them off, and then, I don't really understand now. I look at the, I'll go along with the Jorginho one. Certainly Odegaard's been our best player, got so much praise last week at Newcastle. You want your best players on the pitch to try and turn it around. And he didn't do that,
Yeah.
Jesus blew off again. He was doing something.
But to be fair to Arteta, guys, Jesus and Odegaard, they weren't good.
They were better than
nor was anybody, was they?
This is why it's redundant criticising the substitutions then, because nobody was good.
There's been a running theme with Saka. And I love Saka. But Jesus was bringing more to the game than Saka was. And this is not the first time we're saying someone was bringing more to the game than Saka. And they was replaced over Saka.
Yeah. And also, guys, I honestly thought that Trossard was that bad. He was going to get sub to sub. I honestly thought that was going to happen.
He was shocking.
And it didn't happen.
Smith Rowe doesn't get any minutes, and then he's dragged on to save the situation again.
Yeah, I just think it was bad. I will go back to the thing about Saliba. I do think Saliba has been a massive loss. Yes, we were conceding goals at home, trickling goals, one's here. But since he's been out the side, I've seen 3 against Southampton, 3 against Brighton, 4 against Manchester City. The most unbelievable thing about the Newcastle game was that we kept a clean sheet. But look at the game against Newcastle. Right in the second half, we're 1-0 up. They have a free header from 6 yards out. Ramsdale makes a save. Brighton game, 6 yards out, free header goal. We do not learn our lessons. And I'm putting all of this on Arteta now, because this has been going on week in, week out all season. And we've not addressed it. We have not addressed that issue, whether it's personnel or tactics, I don't know. But I'm sorry, when players are getting free headers in the box at this sort of level, they're going to take most of them, and we can hide behind the saves of Ramsdale, which was fantastic. But I looked at it there, he's just standing in the 6 yard box on his own. Standing in it, like we're protecting a 1-0 lead and we're letting people go there.
I don't think he's expecting his centre-back to go down clutching his heel.
No, I don't, but that's what I'm saying, James. You know what I mean? Like, he's picking these players, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. Defend for your life. There is a time, like the Tony Adams and the John Terrys of this world and all that. When you're 1-0 down, they used to say, right, this is my time. This is when it's, this is when it's important that I defend. And they don't. And I'll tell you, listening to the Yardman and having a conversation with him, and he came up with a fantastic point. I've got to bring it up. How many goals have we conceded on the back post? It's unbelievable. If you look back on it, the free kick against Man City, back post. How many times do we concede through the ball going to the back post and we don't defend the back post?
Everton as well, Tarkowski. But that's the reason why.
Defending.
But that's the reason why, Lee, I think the Saliba thing is overblown, because we conceded 3 against United, 2 against Villa, 2 against Bournemouth. We were conceding 2s and 3s long before he was injured. So, yes, Saliba not being there affects how we play. I'll acknowledge that. But I'm not having that. You've made the point all season, Lee. We've been letting him keep goals at home all season, even with him in the team. So
I do. And I look at one of the biggest things that I've said about this team is that Ben White, for instance, I'm a big Ben White fan. He's been appalling the last 4 or 5 games since he gone that international break when he wasn't put in the international. So I don't know, his head's gone. But, he's a central defender playing right back. Can't defend the far post. I look at Gabriel, Saliba and Tierney or Shinchenko. You look at them and you think, well, I wouldn't really want to change any of them. Yeah. So it's not the personnel in that sense. Just do something about it. You've got good defenders. Make them defend properly. Put in a thing that makes it, I get that we're a little bit more open than when we're at home. I will say that we're much more defending up. But I've always said, and I'll say it again, and until someone can tell me that, we have 80% of games, 75% of games. The chances that we concede for that percentage of play is not good enough. Is not good enough for a defensive unit, and that has got to be addressed, particularly when you watch teams in the Champions League and things like that, because they won't miss chances. They will not miss. And Brighton, I've got to say, were clinical.
Ruthless, yeah. Ruthless. And it's the reason, James mentions that Arteta after the game talking about how he was concerned about what he saw. And, again, we'll have shows pre-season and after today about looking at the big picture in next season. But it's the reason the Kivior signing in the window almost makes me concerned. Not because I don't rate him, but it says to me we're not going to buy a centre-back this summer. I think we've got 3 or 4 positions to fill. And if you've bought a centre-back in the summer already, even with Holding leaving, I don't think we'll buy a centre-back this window. And I think we do. I don't think you win a Premier League title with Gabriel and Saliba as your back 2. I'm going to go early on that one.
On that, I do think we dwell on the Saliba injury a bit too much. And the reason I say that is because Tomiyasu, that injury has cost us, and Partey. Whether it's an injury to Partey or his performance level has just dropped down. When you look at Partey, Saliba, and Tomiyasu, they're all key figures to our defensive unit. Yeah. Whether it's Tomiyasu backing up Ben White and being able to slot in, or potentially backing up Saliba, whether it's Partey breaking up play, because as well as Jorginho's done, having stepped in here or there, he's not as mobile as Thomas Partey is. He is not he is not the ball winner that I think the defense kind of needs in front of them. So I don't know if these multiple factors are playing a part in why we've collapsed the way we've collapsed. Because as much as Jordan is right, we have been conceding goals for a long time. The amount of goals we've been conceding has ramped up in recent weeks, especially after the international break.
Yeah, I also think Arsenal, the goals scored has gone up massively this year. You know, it's not just, oh, we concede a load of goals, we're a terrible team. You know, going the other way, you know, the fact that we're quite open and expansive and we can get caught is also because we play some fantastic football on the ball and we attack brilliantly and we're great to watch and we scored more goals than Invincibles or something. Or
Doesn't win leagues though, James.
No, that's fine. But
this is akin to Liverpool under the Suarez season.
Rodgers and
shitloads of goals, but they're involved in too many 4-2s and 4-3s and 3-3s and 2-2s.
Agreed. And that was early Klopp days as well. Liverpool the same. And once they addressed that defence, they started winning trophies. But again, I'm not trying to do the whole no one expected us to be in the title race. We are Arsenal Football Club. The opportunity came along, but I don't think the defence was like. I think we went into this wanting to be expansive on the front foot. We have a left back that plays in midfield. You know, we want to try score a load of goals, and we have scored a load of goals. But it's a difficult one with Arteta and the Saliba thing because I saw Jamie Carragher was saying, you know, this idea that Arsenal don't concede goals with Saliba is a myth. And I tweeted about it saying, well, no one ever said we didn't concede goals with Saliba. You know, and actually had this podcast, I remember the 4-2 win against Leicester all the way back, the first home game of the season. We all said, slightly concerning the chances we conceded there, even though we looked brilliant. And it's been a running theme for us almost with every podcast we've done after home games. So I don't think anyone's ever said, oh, we're defensively perfect with Saliba. But what Saliba does do is he gives us an element of territory and control in the right areas of the pitch that even if we did concede a goal against Southampton, I'm just so much more confident we're going to get pinned in a half and we're going to just, you know, then there might be more transition, but we'll deal with it a bit better and we'll therefore have more chance on the back of that and we'll play through them better because Saliba's so good at all that. You think about that Fulham goal where they pressed us all the way to the goal line and he just switches it with his left foot and we go all the way down the other end and score. So I think Saliba has been a big miss. I do think we don't win the league, but get more points at this stage with Saliba in the side. I do believe that. And on Arteta, very quickly, it's difficult because I don't really blame him too much for everything that's gone wrong because he put the team out there in a way that got us 2-0 up against Liverpool and got us 2-0 up against West Ham. And we had a decent first half against Brighton. So, you know, he has set the team up right, in my opinion, in those games. However, you know, when Brighton have an issue at right back, they don't mind moving Casado there and the whole team still functions. So why do we feel so worried about moving key cogs out of position? You know, why was the idea of Partey playing right back and white centre back such an awful idea? Oh, don't do it. You can't mess with everything else. Well, because Arteta's system at Arsenal requires very particular things that we're worried about moving. And now we're hearing Granit Xhaka could be off. I know we're going to talk about that in a bit. And there's a worry about how that looks next season. So I do think Arteta needs to show more flexibility as well.
Just before we get onto the kind of the Xhaka and the kind of we're hearing the incomings and outgoings, can I just get you guys' thoughts on the fans in their droves leaving early? Because I'm a man that doesn't really believe in telling paying customers how to spend their how to act after they paid their money. I mean, I've left the game early once, so I've done it, and I understand why fans do it, and I know it hurts, and I've never condemned fans for doing it. But I want to ask you guys, if you're Mikel Arteta, who we as fans we've all said that the biggest thing he's done is bringing the fans and the club back together again. I think we can all agree, apart from style of play, good signings, we all feel like we're part of the club again and we enjoy being part of this team. And I think he's the driving force behind that. If you're Mikel Arteta and you see 10, 20,000 fans on 80 minutes having left the ground, are you concerned that might make him think, well, hang on a minute, I've worked hard in the 3.5 years I've been here to bring this together again. The first sign of adversity and the first kind of F up that we have, and it's been a bad day, you guys leave us. do you think that will do you think he will be concerned and hurt going forward but by that, or do you think it's just part of what as a manager you have to accept when you get beat 3-0 at home?
Good question.
I think he's got to use it as more further motivation. I think that's the best thing. My opinions of the fans that left, I understand it. I nearly left the watch along set, let alone leave the Emirates. But I understand it. You know, the pain. I mean, the pain was so much because of the good work that Arteta's done. But let's not forget the good work the fans have done, both home and away, for the last 18, 24 months, and the change in atmosphere and the change in belief and the change in hope. The fans have played a massive part, and let's not forget how many times in games the players will look over to the fans and give it the whole like, let's get it. I think we've all mentioned that it felt like the white flag was raised, that we gave up, and the fans in the stadium must have saw that for themselves, and they're probably thinking, well, if you're giving up, fuck getting caught up in all of the traffic on the way back. Let me go now. So I kind of understand it.
I stay till the end. That's just I'm always like that. I always stay till the end and clap the players. People have lives. People have families to get back to on a Sunday evening. People have things to do, and I think.
Sorry, James, I can't have that though, because if the game's 2-2, those people with lives and things to do, are they leaving on 80 minutes?
No, but my point is, it's a little bit on the. It's a bit at times as well on the team to keep you there. And do I mean that? I guess what I'm saying is, listen, I was watching that game and it got to the last 15 minutes and I was watching it with my family because I was at home not well. And, you know, they were saying, come on, you know, if we can just get a goal back. And I said to them, where did you see a goal coming? We don't do that scoring. The players they're not winning the ball back. They're not chasing. It's done. It's like,
it's not the point though, is it? It's not the point. The point is that whether you're going to score or not, you stay to the end.
But
we feel the pain together. We go for it together.
Did the players play till the end? You know, you play till the end. Play till the end. And I'm not. Listen, I'm trying to find a happy balance because either way, I think the principle is you're right, Jordan. We all stay till the end, or we suffer as a collective. But at the same time, the fans have been unbelievable all season, and the team's been pretty unbelievable all season. But they fell off massively in that game at the end of it. And the fans, I think, feeling disappointment. But what I will say is this wasn't the last home game of the season. I think they're going to give the team a massive send-off for Wolves. The way fans have been brilliant and will continue to be against Forest. And Arteta, I think that there's got to be an element of, they've got to hold this a little bit, the Arsenal group and Arteta and the team. 4 points clear going into the top 4 race, threw it away. 5 points clear in the title race, threw it away. It's 2 seasons that, while in some ways overachieved on what we expected going into those seasons, they've also fallen short from really good positions. And that they're going to feel disappointed, the fans. And you know what? I'm going to forgive the fans on this one and just be loud and give them a good cheer and thank them for their hard work in the Wolves game. And we will go again in the summer.
Lee?
Listen, I'm always been a believer of you're your own fan. You support the team as you like, and if you want to leave early, then leave early. I ain't got a problem with anybody leaving early. What I've got a problem with is that the same fans that are leaving early are the ones that are shouting off to you, "Oh, back the manager, back the team." You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, how dare you criticise the team? How dare you do this? How dare you do that?" And they're the ones that 2-0 are walking out. That gets on my goat a little bit, if I'll be really honest. I have people in my WhatsApp group saying, like, you know, and not necessarily me, but someone criticises Arteta or the team. "Oh, get behind the team, and then I see them people walking out at 2-0. But at the end of it, it's your choice. I remember at Spurs last season, 3-0 down, a lot of my mates went home. Like, you know, and probably if I hadn't got to do an interview, I'd probably done the same thing. Like, you know, I've done it once, and that was against Manchester City in the League Cup final when we was 3-0 down, freezing cold. what I will say is at this moment in time, I've got a lot of time for this team. So, you know, in the disappointment of it, I stayed. But I don't think you can condemn fans for going and all that, like, you know, either way. I would say, though, that the majority of performances this season have merited the team to stay behind. But, you know, I don't think that you should be telling fans to, you know, they paid their money for whatever reason. And do you know what? You've turned around, you guys, and said that the team threw this one in. I didn't see it like that, maybe because I was in so much pain. But they threw it away, weren't bothered, down tools. So if they've down tools, and you both turned around there and said that today, James and Jordan, I think Turkish has agreed. So then the fans, why criticise the fans for doing exactly the same?
Down tools sounds maybe harsher than I mean it. I just mean I think they lost belief, and all season they never lost belief. In this game,
yeah. So the fans did as well, James.
Exactly.
That.
And it translated. Listen, watching it from where I was, I saw a belief gone, and I was watching it thinking, we're not getting another here, and that's not how they.
You make a fantastic point. You make a fantastic point about last season and this season. But we've gone to the Etihad, really didn't produce a performance there, like, you know, and got smashed. The last month or 6 weeks have not been good, guys. They've not been good. You know what I mean? Like, you know, a 3-3 performance against a team that's been relegated with 3 or 4 games left of the season. You know, yes, a good win against
Newcastle,
but the disappointment of West Ham. You know what I mean? Local rivals, you know what I mean? And I tell you what, the fans, we've been getting it. We've been getting stick over the last few weeks from other fans and all that, like, you know. And listen, I look at it, and if you say it's been a great season, anybody that says to me it's been a great season, I'll argue with it. It's been a good season. It's been a good season because we've competed and we've done well. A great season is going on and winning stuff and things like that and seeing it through. We've not done that. In fact, it's been very, very disappointing in the last few weeks, and I have to say that. But, you know, as James alluded to, the fans have been fantastic all season, and they really have. Fantastic at Everton when we lost them, was crap there. Fantastic, I have to say that. At Manchester City when we was losing after 5 minutes and all through that game. Home crowd is completely different to an away crowd. It's as simple as that. Like, always has been, always will be, and rightly so. You know, spend a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like tickets for that game there. You want to get your money's worth. And listen, 90% of the time we have this season, but don't forget, there's been 5 years of crap. 5 years of crap. 5 years when there's been a lot of empty seats at these grounds and all that, like, you know. So we're building.
I'd argue 20 years, mate.
Yeah, but we're building something, and I don't think we should lose the fact of that. Is that there is something like happening at the Arsenal. I do think that next season we'll be even better, but I do think that the fans will always be fickle. Fans have always been fickle. You know what I mean? Like, and more so.
You're right. I know Tosh's got to move on, but I was just wondering. It wasn't much about the players or the fans. It was more about Arteta. I wonder how he felt in that moment. With the work he's done. You think?
Yeah. I think he gets
20,000 fans. Okay.
I think he gets it. I think he is so disappointed.
That's why he apologised.
I think if he saw, yes, he did, and I think if he saw the players fighting all the way to the end, I think he might have been a bit let down. But I think he was so disappointed with the performance. I think he'll be looking at what was the famous words he said after Newcastle last year. He said, "You gotta taste it. You gotta
taste it,
yeah,
or something, yeah."
Yeah, and I think there would have been a similar message after Brighton. Like, they all left. I can't blame him. Take it. I think that would have been his message to the players.
Yeah. And I will say this one thing: like, whatever happened this season and all that, like, Mikel Arteta, in my opinion, and that's my opinion, has gone up tenfold in my estimations.
Same.
He really has this season. Forget about what's happened, the way he conducts himself in interviews, the way he does this and the way he does that. I'm warming to him all the time. On the other hand, and this is a serious thing for me now, that Pep, I cannot stand him now. I quite liked him before, and I know things against him. The reason I do not like him now is because he's affecting me. He's affecting me. You know what I mean? In interviews and in press conferences and all that, like, you know, because of the way, you know, because now we're a rival.
Yeah.
You know, thank you, Mikel. You know, Mikel's give me that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I had a grudge, admiration for Klopp. And, you know, I quite like Klopp. I'm beginning to hate him and all now. Like, fantastic, bring it on. You know what I mean? So Mikel's done really, really well for that. And I don't think that he should be criticised. He has now got credit in the bank. And I don't think he should be criticised as too much as what he is. I've been a real big admirer of what he's done this season.
But does he have money in the bank?
That is the thing. That is the thing.
That is the question.
Nice segue.
That's brilliant, that, James. That is why
Nice.
you're the number one. You're the number one.
Thank you, Lee.
To best, even before that segue, I just want to add what Lee kind of alluded to when he first started talking about this, you know, fans leaving issue is the fans that will leave, but at the same time will tell potentially Lee or potentially another Arsenal fan that they're not an Arsenal fan because of a particular opinion, or they should be positive and you know, hope blindly at times. I just think that culture needs to stop as well. You know, the fans judging other fans all of the time, and that doesn't just go down to leaving games early. It goes down to opinions of Arteta or opinions of players or opinions of a particular situation at Arsenal. If you look at what Mikel Arteta said in his what Lee called an apology, what was it? Sorry to have let you down. Arteta knows that we fucked up this season. He knows, and that tells you he knows. So it's not negative to say we fucked it. It's not negative to say we bottled it or we choked or we threw it away. That's not a negative. In order to be able to move on from something and do better, you need to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself what it is, not wrap yourself in cotton wool and act like we didn't play our part in this and it was just Manchester City's 11 wins that have done it. We must reflect. We must be held accountable, and that stems from Arteta. And when fans bicker about little things, especially on Twitter or these social media platforms, it just makes me sick at times, because it's just like, oh, you're not a real fan. You left the match early. Oh, you're not a real fan. You don't sing Super Mick Arteta. Oh, you're not a real fan. You don't like Holding. Oh, this constant bickering, like the bar has been raised. The manager's helped raise it. He's trying to keep it there. He feels like he's let us down, and the club have let us down, because we didn't win the Premier League. That's how we fans have got to think. If we're not winning the Premier League, it's been a letdown. Not, it's been nice. It's been progress. It's been a letdown.
You make a fantastic point there. I've got to address this while we're on it. Like, you know, the Mikel Arteta song, like, you know what I mean? Now, that has caused a lot of arguments, you know what I mean? Like, because people think, oh, you don't support the manager because you sing it and all that, like, you know. Does it matter if you sing it or you don't? It's up to you. And I always sing it and at the end of it, I sing it, Arsenal going to win the Premier League, right? That's where I sing it, right? Do I think he's super? No, I don't think he's super. I think he's bloody good, but I don't think he's super. But are Arsenal the best, are far the greatest team the world has ever seen? No, but we sing that. It's just the way it is, you know what I mean? But people get onto you. Why don't you sing it? Why don't you sing it? And to a tone, like having a go at you. And then they're leaving at 2-0. You know what I mean? And things like that. Support the team. And, you know, we're going to go for hopefully a fantastic period now. Like, support it how you want to. Don't criticise someone because they don't sing a song or leave early and whatever. Do you know what? It's none of your bloody business. Your business is yourself.
The usual Arsenal whine is about referees popped up on the weekend again as well. Just got to say.
Shocking, wasn't it?
Let's move on.
Well, let's go back to that segue that James provided and the talk of money, transfer window, Kroenkes. But more importantly, at this moment in time, because we will have shows in the next few weeks where we can talk about what the Cronkies need to do. I very much believe it's over to them now. And I'll give my reasons why when that becomes the main topic, because I don't think that's a mini topic. I think that's a main topic in itself. But Xhaka, I mean, there's a lot of news about the man Jordan hasn't named all season. Like, he slipped up twice, but yeah, he hasn't named all majority of the season. Chris Wheatley says it's true. He's on the move. Fabrizio Romano further confirms that he's expected to leave Bayer Leverkusen in advanced talks, a 15 million euro fee. He's already told Mikel and the club of his decision. Jordan, I think it's only right to start with you on this one.
I'm conflicted, Turkish, because for 5 years, for 5 summers, get him out, sell him, let him go. I wanted him out. And now that he's leaving, I'm a bit like, well, actually, he could be a good squad player.
Jordan's like, Granit, no.
I didn't mean it. I am conflicted because half of me says that I think there's value in keeping someone like him as a squad player. Imagine he's coming on as a sub in the last 15 minutes in a Champions League game that we've won. Imagine him coming on in a Premier League game that we've won 2-0 or winning 2-0 for the last 15 minutes. He's a good football player, and he always has been. The problem has been is that Wenger and Emery didn't play him in the right position. And now we finally realised where he's best. We've got the best out of him. So there's other players that I'm very, very conclusive, very, very clear on whether I would sell or keep. He's one of the few that I'm a little bit like, if he left, there's no tears on the pillow. Like, it's time to maybe move on and whatever. But if he stayed, I wouldn't be in uproar either. It's looking like he's going to be leaving. So I'm a little bit like, oh man. But he's had a really good season. He's been one of our better players for most of the season, to be fair to him. And yeah, one of the reasons why I think we've struggled this season is, although we've signed the likes of Jorginho and some degree Trossard, we lack senior pros who can have that leadership kind of authority, if you like. And I think he's got that, and I think he's actually grown in that position since he's actually given the captain's armband up, ironically enough. So do you want to give away one of your few senior players? I'm not so sure. So I guess my answer is, if he was to leave, great final 18 months at Arsenal. I think he'll be the final. Him and Holding are the 2 final Wengerites. Am I right in saying that? They're the last 2.
Eddie and Ketia.
Oh, and Ketia, okay. He's one of the last 3 Wengerites. That'll be kind of really moving on era-wise. But equally, if he was to stay, as long as it's as a squad player, I wouldn't be mad. I can only assume they're thinking to free up a spot and free up wages for the incomings that they want to bring in. That for me would be the reason why I imagine they're letting him go.
I'll be fuming, absolutely fuming, if they let him go and only bring in, say, Declan Rice. I'll be fuming. If they bring in Declan Rice and Casado, well done, Xhaka. Thank you very much for your time and all that. I get it. But if they don't go in big in that midfield, because our midfield has been one of the reasons why we've not been able to compete and win this league this season, because we've had Partey out every time he's gone out. When Xhaka was missing against Manchester City because he wasn't 100%, and against Southampton he was missed. If they are prepared to let him go, which is fantastic, if he wants to go, why he wants to go to a club like that, I don't know. Maybe he wants to go back to Germany, but you're at one of the biggest and best clubs in the world. Why I don't know.
You'll probably get a longer contract, Lee.
So and do you know what? I'd love to be able to shake his hand and say thank you for what you've done for us over the last few years. Blah 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 blah. But in the back of my mind, I know we've got Casado and we've got Declan Rice, and they're going to take us a lot further than what Granit probably could. And that is the only reason that I'm saying that. If those 2 players don't go, I'd be fuming if Arsenal don't bring in 2 top quality midfielders this season. Fuming. Because I can see this now. I've gone for the last few years, we've lacked this and we've lacked that. We've got Champions League football now. Go out and get those. Now, I'm not saying it has to be Declan Rice at 120 million. I'm saying, but somebody of that thing. That Casado, we know, like their managers basically put him on the market the other day. Like Arsenal were very, very close to getting him. If we don't get him, I'll be fuming because he's the player that we need. Also, as James said earlier on, had a fantastic game at right back. He can come in and play right back, like, you know what I mean? So for me, him before Rice, but then Rice and them two players of that ilk through the door before Granit goes the other way.
Lee, I'm with you, Lee. Sorry to cut you. I'm with Lee there. But also, you could argue, even with those two players, if he still kept he who shan't be named, you've got Partey and Jorginho. That's a nice collection of 5 midfielders you've got going into the Premier League and Champions League campaign.
Yep, and
I'd argue that. I'd argue that one. I wanted Rice and Caicedo with the thought that Xhaka's going to be part of the squad depth.
That's what I'm saying.
I'd argue we should be on the phone to Gundogan's agent and asking how advanced that Barcelona move is. Because if we talk about leadership, if we talk about experience, then we'd actually be upgrading in that position if Gundogan was available and if we was to get him in. I'm looking at Rice, Caicedo, and a backup number 8. Because listen, if Xhaka goes and Rice comes in, and the schedule heats up, and we need to take Rice out of the firing line, or God forbid an injury, what happens without Xhaka? Who slots in? Fabio Vieira again? I'm not too sure.
I agree. I agree, and actually, because Turkish, we've had a good discussion about what Declan Rice brings in the final third, and I think it's quite a lot. I don't think he can do what Xhaka does with that kind of whipped ball with his left foot and the underlap. You know when the pitch is really stretched and he kind of makes that cutting underlap. Declan Rice could do that, but it doesn't feel natural. Like he's a right-footed player and all that. So I agree. I think we need someone with maybe a little bit more natural guile as an 8. I mean, I'm not even saying Tielemans does this, but he's available on a free. Mount's looking to leave. Look, it could be very expensive, but I agree. I was looking at Rice and Casado with Xhaka thinking, cool, Partey and Casado are your 6s, Rice and Xhaka are your 8s, and that you're going to compete on 4 fronts. Yeah. Now, okay, is that so different if you remove Xhaka and you got Jorginho in there and you've kind of got 4 players for 2 positions? Yeah, you could maybe do that. You'd probably be okay for a year. I mean, that's a stronger midfield than we've had going into this season, so he's an upgrade. But I'd still be thinking, where's the natural A? Where's the player that is what we said Granit Xhaka need to upgrade on, which is that real final third quality? Maybe Rice has that, because I rate Rice a lot. I just don't know if that's the area he excels in.
I don't rate Rice as highly as everyone else does, especially at 90, 100 million. But that deal's going to be done, it's looking like. But James, isn't this Diaby guy? I don't know much about him, but isn't he the replacement for he who shan't be named, or is that a different position?
No, he's a right winger.
Oh, he's a winger. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
The other thing, guys, is just coming up there. Casado, or Casado, whatever way you want to say it.
We'll get to that later.
Rice,
don't mind the comments.
and Tielemans coming in. You can get Tielemans as well for free. And then Xhaka goes. You know that would be. I'll be very, very happy with that free coming in. Bit younger.
Are also going to sign 3 midfielders in one summer, though. I mean, we're linked. Even 2 sounds a little ambitious. I mean, even if we get Rice and Casado, I'll be over the moon.
Yeah, I would be, but Tielemans is for free, isn't he? He's a free. Isn't
I know,
he?
yeah.
I don't know, but we need to upgrade in that midfield area.
We do,
like tenfold, because I'm going to tell you this now, as we're sitting here now, Partey will not be able to play 3 games a week for the whole season. He cannot do 1. So the proof's in the pudding. He's as good as he is. You cannot be.
One's a bit harsh. You can't do 1.
You can't even do 1.
You can play 1 game.
Well, I honestly think Partey is a player.
Just tell him you can't play at all.
Listen, I don't think Partey has been right since that international break when he had that injury, he come back and all that. He's one of those players that has to be 100% fit to be the player that he is. Can't carry like 95%. There are players like that. We've all played with him, even at our level and all that. He's got to be on the button every single time. And when he is, my God, what a player he is. He's not at 100% fit long enough. So that has got to be addressed. So that's why I think 2, maybe 3 players is good to be needed.
Or, you know, we've talked about how Arsenal might approach the game tactically next season differently to this season, unless he's willing to give Zinchenko more minutes in midfield. And I'm not joking. You know, as a left-footed, more creative final third player, he's got the technical ability for it. He plays there for Ukraine, so maybe there's that. But yeah, it would be very interesting what Arsenal do in midfield. And just on Granit Xhaka very quickly, I tweeted I didn't think I'd be sad about it, and I don't mean sad for Arsenal's future. Look, I think if you're being ruthless, you're being absolutely ruthless. Granit Xhaka doesn't get in the Man City team. So there's your answer, right?
Or squad, I'd argue.
Yeah, let's not be too harsh.
No, I'm not being real. Does he get in their squad?
He doesn't get in the team for sure. And that's what so that's kind of the question you've got to ask. Now, that might be true of quite a few Arsenal players, but what I say is, but I see a world in which they get better and better and maybe do get to that level. You know, Martin Odegaard, for me, he's not Kevin De Bruyne still. I know some people are running that comparison. He's not Kevin De Bruyne. But in 3-4 years' time, could he be... Kevin De Bruyne is one of the greatest Premier midfielders of all time, but could he be playing at a level in which you go, yeah, he's world-class, he's a leader, he scores the assists, he's the driving force in the team, he's the heartbeat? Sure. Because he's kind of almost been that for us this season anyway. But with Xhaka, I just think that there's... He's
peaked.
Yeah. And like really, I would be amazed if we kept him, if we got another season as good as this out of Xhaka. Because he has been getting better and better. And he has probably actually been under the whole Mikel Arteta era. He's probably been actually very solid and reliable and probably averages a 7 or 8 out of 10 for his time. But yeah, there's just slightly too many limitations to his game, but huge credit to him for the way he's adapted to his new role. He's taken on new different responsibilities. He has been it's clearly someone we saw from the documentary that the players do hang on to. They clearly respect his leadership and his position in the dressing room. And he has turned it around with the fans, and fair play to him for all that. And I wish him all the best. But I think both player and club are going to be better off for this move ultimately.
And we'll find out more in the coming weeks ahead, and we'll still be here talking about it all. And I think, again, it's a topic where it's a show in itself. What do we want to see? What positions do we want to add into? What potential players do you want to see come through the door? Kind of on this subject, but moving on to the other subject, don't forget we have been linked to Mason Mount too. Ornstein talked about Mount the other day. So it's not just Rice and Casado that's been linked. Mason Mount is probably the midfielder we've been linked to that I see as an upgrade in the final third and in and around the box. So that's why I expect Rice, Casado, and someone else to come in. But we've also heard Emil Smith-Rowe being trained in the number 8 position. I don't really pay too much mind to that rumor. Jordan says get rid. The question I want to ask is against...
I'm sick of you, Jordan. How have you just gone get rid?
Get rid. Against Nottingham Forest, do we start trialing some of these things? If Emil Smith-Rowe is to be tested in that position, would you expect to see him in that position against Nottingham Forest? No, Lee? Yes, no. Jordan? No.
Pre-season is for that. That's what pre-season's for. Not games against Nottingham Forest and Wolves. I want Arsenal now, as James said earlier on, to finish off the season strongly. Whatever happens, win these 2 games. I'm not going up to Nottingham Forest to see experiments. I'm up there to see Arsenal win, and that's how I feel like, you know. And start as you mean to go on. Start getting some wins under your belt now. This ain't the time to make changes.
So what would you do then? Obviously, off the back of potentially giving up against Brighton, what would you do with the team against Forest?
Me personally, I would. Do you know what? I would. Martinelli's probably not going to play, so I would actually say to Nelson, if you want to sign a contract, this is the game you come in, because I've liked what he's done in the cameos that he's come on. Deserves a chance. So I would say, right, this is it. You know, let's see if you can become a Premier League player or not. put the pressure on, see what he can do, because I think that he deserves that chance. For me, that would be the change in there, and I would I'd probably keep it the same. I don't feel like any other changes that I would bring in. I think I don't think we can really make that many changes at the back. Midfield, I think Jorginho, I don't think was the worst player on the pitch, so I don't think he deserves to be left out.
Another disaster class from Partey, by the way, when he came on, so he's not starting.
Say again?
Another disaster class from Partey when he.
I thought, I don't know what's the matter with him. I really don't.
No, Jorginho.
Unless something's happened there, and he may be off at the end of the season. Who knows? You know what I mean? I don't know. So he must be nearing the end of his contract.
You're going to get some minutes in midfield, Lee.
Yeah, well, I would do if I weren't injured. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's just the injury that stands in your way.
Yeah, that's the reason.
No, by the way, hasn't had a look in any shape or form. It's funny that Vieira hasn't played since the Southampton game. So I think Xhaka, Jorginho, and Odegaard, I'd still stick with him. One bad game don't make you a bad player, does it? So I wouldn't change that, but I would definitely give Nelson the start.
I think it's a good question, Turkish. Is the game now about trying to finish season strong and get 6 points of trying to amass as high a total as possible, or do you have half an eye now on next season and you start looking at the likes of Nelson, Smith Rowe, and saying, okay, I'm going to give you 2 games. You got to earn your contract now. You got to earn your minutes, and because we're not going to finish third, and we're not going to finish first, so he might well be thinking. I hear what Lee's saying. Preseason, you can do all that, but these competitive games still. So you might want to just 2 or 3 players. Are you part of my plans next season? Here's 2 games to kind of show that you could be, or otherwise, actually, I can get some money for you. I'll move you on.
Yeah, that's my thing, because I don't want to delve back into the transfer stuff again. But then the way Lee's talked about the lineup on the weekend and giving Reece Nelson a chance, does that mean you want Emil Smith Rowe to be sold this summer as well? Because the guy doesn't seem to get minutes, and he doesn't seem to be favoured by Arteta, and we don't seem to trust him now as fans coming in.
It hasn't looked sharp in any stage of the season, since he's come back. I don't know what's happened with his injury. I'm a massive fan of Smith Rowe, as you all well know. Terrific player. But he hasn't looked like he can come on and do what Nelson's done. Every time Nelson's come on, he's excited me, and Smith Rowe's done that in the past. I just don't think he's quite fit enough. I said it last season, I'll say it again. Smith Rowe needs a big pre-season. He didn't have a pre-season last year. He was injured. If you remember rightly, he never played, never participated in the pre-season. It is massive if you don't have a pre-season. He's one of these guys I also think that needs to stay fit. And I think that he needs a pre-season before he can really come back in any shape or form. That's my opinion.
Cool.
And I wouldn't quite get rid just quite yet.
Yeah. Let me bring the prediction table up and let's get into the predictions as well. I did make 2 prediction tables, one with the point docked off Lee and one with the point added on, because before we started the show, people, I mentioned to Jordan and James that Lee had a pretty legitimate excuse for being late. Or reason, should I say, for being late. And if it was up to me, I would have put the point back on. But it was up to James and Jordan. And as you can see, the point has remained off. So there's the decision.
Well, I asked him if he'd admit Tactical Insight was a great show, and his response was typically mature. So the point stays off.
Stick the wooden spoon up your jacksie was my
Yeah, that's the level we're talking. So
that's where we're at.
The race for 4th goes on.
The race for 4th is the only race left in this table. I'll tell you that.
No, let's not be too hasty. There's still 2 games left, Turkey. There's still 2 games left.
All right, you're gonna have to do a madness. Just for people listening on audio platforms, 47 games have been played, 47 predictions have been made. I'm top on 40 points. Jordan's in second on 36 points. Lee's in third on 33 points, and he remains above James, who is also on 33 points on correct scores only. With 2 games left to predict this season, if Jordan doesn't do a madness in the next prediction, then I have won the league come next show. And Lee and James, it's all to fight for. It's going down to the final day, it seems. So we'll see how that one goes. Who's going to pay £10 extra for the shirt? I like that green shirt, though. I can't even lie.
Oh, yeah, the Tactical Insight. What a fantastic show that is. I absolutely love Graham. What an absolute wonderful presenter he is.
Still managed to praise Graham and not me. But...
Got to say, big up to Graham, because obviously, with my ribs being as I am, he sent me the tactical shoot. Sent it to me
you're struggling to sleep.
Sent to me very kindly at 10 to 12 as well, just as I was getting off that. Fantastic.
You're going to bed. Yeah. Pain was too much. Put you straight to sleep. I get it. I fucking get it.
I'll tell you what, if anybody's ill or not well out there, put it on repeat. That's all I'm saying.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Graham.
You have one joke.
It's a good one, though. To be fair, it's a good
one.
That's a
good one.
He has only got one joke, but it's a good one.
It's a good one. It's a good one. You know what? I should have thought more about this prediction, because now we're here. There is a funny one to predict. Forest. Yeah. They pretty much need a point to avoid relegation, so they're going to be up for it. I think it's their last home game of the season. Arsenal. What do I make of you right now? I'm gonna go with a. Let me go with what I know. 3-1 Arsenal win. Surely we've got to bounce back. Surely we've got to get the 3 points. Surely.
No.
See, you go 3-1,
yeah? No, Martinelli's injured. Shit. 2-1.
See, I'm not convinced Arsenal win this game, because I just don't understand why we would be. Little motivation against a team that has motivation. And as you said, Turkish, I've got to do a madness to try and win this, win this shirt. So I've either got to go for a different result, or I've got to go big on a 4-1. I've got to go for a different result, haven't I? I'm going to go 2-2. I'm going to go 2-2.
2-1, 2-2. Lee.
2-0.
2-0 Arsenal win. James. Couple Arsenal wins, 1 draw.
1-1.
Another draw added to the list. Couple draws, couple Arsenal wins. It could all change for the bottom two. We'll see what it's looking like come next week. So what's that? 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw, 2-0 win from Lee, and a 2-1 win from myself. All right, people. Make sure you're here next week, and we'll see the update. But obviously, you'll watch the game too. Predictions are made. 2 games left. And it's comments of the day time. Everyone got their comments of the day ready?
Yeah.
I've got 2 this week. Can I have 2 this week?
Yeah, go on then.
Jordan has 5 normally. So
I got 5 or 6 today. Yeah, so I'll go last.
This comes from Adam Cunningham. My girlfriend is not much of a football fan, but she has seen the last few episodes, and she is a big fan of Lee and thinks that the other 3 are scared of winning the predictions table, and now they can't. And now she cannot watch without her. She cannot watch without, and always asking what time does the show come out. So big up to Nicola, Lee's #1 fan.
Well read,
Nicola.
I ain't got my glasses on,
even with the point we took off him, Nicola, he had no chance.
Yeah, it was a wrap from day. Yeah,
so. I know that, you know what I mean. And the other one is from Sam. Not only is James ill, I didn't know he was also on his period.
I shouldn't laugh at that.
Shouldn't laugh, but I shouldn't laugh because it hurts my ribs. But I can't help it.
James is offended.
No.
Oh, poor James. Poor James.
All right, I'll go next. Why not? I had a few, but I'll just pick out one of these. Yeah, so last week I said, we're going to do the Forever Arsenal podcast Player of the Season awards. And Darnell here says, I wonder when Turkish will realize his awards ceremony spells out the FAP awards. World class episode today, lads.
The FAP Awards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who's that from?
Darnell.
Okay. Go on, James. You got
a lot of people pointing out that they've noticed my facial expressions when Lee's talking. Well spotted. And there was a comment where Lee Judge's talks and James' facial expressions kill me every episode. Much love, guys. Do you notice them, Lee? How I'm sort of reacting to your
I see the
uses and wonderful takes. Well, we then got this one from Nadir. Says Victorious Jr. and Chinchenko would make a lethal left-hand side for us.
I see that.
Come on, you guys.
I don't find that funny.
Well, you're going to hate this one then. I've got a few here. Can't wait to watch this new player that Lee's talking about, Victorious Jr. Hopefully he's as good as Chinchenko. Lee and Don Robbie can make a whole new 11 with their pronunciations of names. Victorious Jr. and Chinchenko would make, James has read that one. I just love Lee. And moreover, I love the show from Williams. So someone there needs to see a doctor of some sort. Shows of any kind are all about chemistry, and the four of you have it in abundance. This is hands down the best show on AFTV. There was one more that I like the look of. Hang on. Yeah, lots about Victorious Zinchenko. It's mad that Turkish hit 40 points before Chelsea did. That was from Jerome McCarthy.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Just everyone else battering in Lee's pronunciation of Victorious Jr. That made me laugh as well. I like that one.
Some good comments of the day as always.
Yeah,
people,
good this week.
Make sure you leave your comments of the day. Lee, was you going to say something?
No. I was going to say something. I just like everywhere I go now. Like particularly like going that everybody's at least 2 or 3 people come to me saying about the Forever Arsenal and. Be nice to James or do this, do that, or have a go at Jordan or whatever. Like, it's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. Like that, people really appreciate the show and what we're doing. And it's, I feel very humble to be a part of it.
Yeah,
I love it when you bump into someone, guys, and they're actually watching the show as they bump into you. That's happened to me like a handful of times now. People be like, "Oh, you're from AFTV." They're like, "Look, mate," and they'll literally show me their screen and they're watching the latest episodes.
It's a nice community.
I had that with someone in Highbury, Islington. They're on their bike. They were cycling along and they pulled over and they said, "Look, I'm watching." I'm like, "You probably shouldn't. You're cycling." but thank you. Yeah.
Sensible James. Just thinking about
you don't want the old bus driver doing it now, do you? Like,
you don't want that.
It's fantastic.
We'll wrap it up here, people. Love to everyone for the comments. Love to everyone for the likes. Make sure we hit 1,000 likes and leave your comments for comments of the day. Big up James, Lee, and Jordan as always. We'll be back again next week after Nottingham Forest, where we're expected to see Man City beat Chelsea and win the Premier League. So yeah, we'll see what happens come the weekend. But
come on, Lampard.
There's still some hope there in Jordan. Oh, who would have thought it?
I mean, it's Frank Lampard, so there's definitely no hope.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. It is a wrap for the season, but we'll still be here week in, week out. So make sure you're here too. And yeah, like I said, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Put the notification bell on and enjoy all the content coming out thick and fast. We're out, people. Peace.